Welcome back to YouTube channel Chemistry Lab UGPG. Today we'll discuss valence bond theory lecture 3. So I have a simple message for you guys. Please think for innovation, be creative, learn everywhere, anytime and help to learn others. So today we'll discuss valence bond theory lecture 3. So while talking about the valence bond theory, we need to know for octahedral complexes, there may be outer orbital complex formed or inner orbital. They may be high spin complex or low spin complex. And while talking about the magnetic properties, they may be diamagnetic complex where no unpaired electrons are there. And in case of paramagnetic complex, there will be unpaired electron. And this is the nomenclature given by different scientists like Nylom, Orgel, and Pauling. So for outer orbital complexes, mostly it gives spin-free or high-spin complexes. And for inner orbital complexes, that will give mostly the low spin or spin paired complexes. So the following ions give both inner orbital and outer orbital complexes. For example, manganese, iron, and cobalt. So the outer orbital complexes include high spin complexes of D7, D8, D9, and D10 ions. So for example, inner orbital D3, chromium ammonia 6 3 plus, D5 gas FeCN6 3 minus, and D7 gas CONO2 6 4 minus. For outer orbital case, that is mostly by weak field ligands. For D3 case, Cr water 6 3 plus, D5 Mn water 6 2 plus, and D7 CO water 6 2 plus. So let's discuss the valence bond theory for tetrahedral complexes having sp3 hybridization. So for example, MnCl4 2 minus. So here the oxidation state of manganese is Mn2 plus and it is a D5 metal ion. So D5 means 3D5. So we have in 3D we have 5 electrons. So these electrons are arranged according to Hund's rule. So what Hund's rule says, no pairing of electron will take place until each 3D orbital is half filled. So we have left with 4s orbital and 4p orbital. So 1 4s orbital and 3 4p orbital, they will undergo hybridization, giving rise to sp3 hybrid orbitals, which are degenerate orbitals. So now what will happen for complex formation? The 4 MnCl4 2 minus, so 4Cl ligands will donate its pair of electron to the vacant sp3 hybrid orbitals, forming the MnCl4 2 minus complex. So if we look at the complex, we have 5 unpaired electron in the 3D orbital. So n equal to 5. So it is paramagnetic complex. So experiment shows that MnCl4 2 minus is paramagnetic in nature with 5 unpaired electrons and having magnetic moment 5.92 bm. So let's discuss the valence bond theory for dsp2 complexes or square planar complexes. So the example is NiCN4 2 minus. So here oxidation state of nickel is N2 plus and nickel 2 plus means that is a D8 metal ion. So here we have a strong ligand Cn minus. So D8 system means the configuration will be 3D8. So these 8 electrons will be filled up in the 3D orbital based upon the Hund's rule. So each orbital will be filled up first, then next electrons, extra electrons will go for pairing. So this is the way 8 electrons are filled up and we have vacant 4s orbital and 4p orbital. So what will happen, since Cn minus is a strong ligand, so it will force the 3D electrons to pair up. So as a result, we are getting one of the d orbital vacant. So one d orbital, one 4s orbital and 2 of the 4p orbital, they will undergo intermixing, giving rise to dsp2 hybrid orbitals. So these dsp2 hybrid orbitals, they are degenerate. So we have 4 Cn ligands, so they will donate its pair of electron to the vacant hybrid dsp2 4 hybrid orbitals, forming the complex NiCN4 2 minus. So here if you look at the complex, we have no unpaired electron. So n equal to 0. So this is a diamagnetic complex. So experimentally it is found that this complex also it is diamagnetic in nature. So the valence band theory, that is the special case CuNH3 4 2 plus. So again this is a 4 coordinate complex. So here the oxidation state of copper is 2 plus. So this is a D9 system, D9 metal ion. So D9 metal ions, so D9 electrons are arranged in the 3D orbital as per the Hund's rule. So we have 4s orbital and 4p orbital. So what will happen? So this is one possibility, that one 4s orbital and 3 of the 4p orbital, it will give rise to sp3 hybrid orbitals. So this sp3 hybrid orbitals, once it is formed, the 4 ammonia ligands will donate its pair of electron to these hybrid orbitals, forming the CuNH3 2 plus complex. And if we explain in terms of a dsp2 hybrid orbitals, so what will happen? Since ammonia is a strong ligand, one of the d electrons will go for pairing, so making available one d orbital. So we have one d orbital, one 4s orbital, and 2 of the 4p orbital. They will undergo intermixing, giving rise to 4 equivalent dsp2 hybrid orbitals. And we have 4 ammonia ligands. So these ammonia ligands will donate its pair of electron to the vacant hybrid orbitals of a dsp2 orbitals, forming the CuNH3 2 plus complex. So here we have a dsp2 hybrid, means it should have a square planar complex. But some authors suggested that this one of the d electron will go to the 5s orbital. So again you have this dsp2 hybridization. But in this case, this 5s electron would be easily lost, because that is the valence shell, outermost shell. So in that case, what will happen? The copper 2 plus must be forming copper 3 plus upon losing that 5s electron, but which does not occur. So experiment revealed that the tetrahedral geometry does not exist. And from 2 and 3 point, so the only possibility is dsp2, that is the square planar structure. So it is the Huygens. He suggested square planar geometry correspond to the sp2d hybridization. So let's start with CuNH3 2 plus, that is the D9 system, and this is the configuration for 3D9. And what will happen? One 4s orbital and 3 4p orbital and another vacant 4d orbital, they will intermix, giving rise to 4 equivalent sp2d hybrid orbitals. So once these degenerate sp2d hybrid orbitals are formed, we have 4 ammonia ligands in the complex. So these ammonia ligands will donate its pair of electron to the vacant sp2d hybrid orbitals, so forming the complex CuNH3 2 plus, and it will have a square planar geometry. So this difficulty is avoided by CFT and molecular orbital theory when applied to this complex, and the unpaired electron is accommodated into the EG, that is the anti-bonding orbital. So now coming to the limitations of valence bond theory, it cannot explain the thermodynamics and kinetics, spectroscopy or color of the complexes, and magnetism. So it cannot explain the reaction rate or mechanism, cannot explain why certain structures are thermodynamically stable, and too much focus on the metal ion, not on the ligands. And BBT cannot explain why those complexes are colored. And it also fails to explain why the magnetic moments vary with the temperature. So the limitations of valence bond theory is avoided by the crystal field theory and molecular orbital theory. So where the unpaired electrons are accommodated in the antibonding orbitals based upon the physical reality, but not just for mathematical convenience. So now I would like to thank Notebook LM for making some slides from my notes for better understanding of the students. So please subscribe our channel Chemistry Live UGPG. So this is the channel Foundation Chemistry AB for class 11th and 12th students. So this is a simple step towards e-learning, making life better. Thank you all for learning.